All right, joining us right now to talk more about it is former U.S. Senator Judd Gregg. He represented New Hampshire as both senator and governor. Also, former state senator Michael Gianaris of New York State. And gentlemen, welcome to both of you. Michael, why don't we let you tackle this first? Because Robert's laid out a lot of the arguments and a lot of the concerns on this. You actually are in favor of going ahead and raising those taxes on New York State. Lay out why.
Sure, if I could just correct you for a second, there's not a former in front of my title.
Oh, I know you're not former. You're still state senator. Yes, you're right.
But yes, look, there's a lot of disruption that the COVID years have caused in the economy. There's no question about it. But a lot of these projections, in my view, are unnecessarily alarmist. You're talking about projections 4 and 5 years down the road. And if I were able to predict, or if any of us could, what the economy is going to look like at that time, we'd be a lot richer than the people watching this show even are. And so let's just, take a step back and be sober about this. The fact is that people have suffered, working people, at a time when the wealthy have gotten historically wealthier. So the COVID years were very rough on working people throughout the country, people who have lost their economic standing. And yet the richest in this country, and certainly in New York State, have gotten even richer. Now, I heard the conversation about people fleeing New York. New York has more millionaires today than it had 2 years ago. And that's always been the story of New York. Some people leave, more people come in. And as long as we do our jobs right, what we need to make sure of is that we have the services in place and give working people the kind of lifestyle they want so they don't flee. Because as everybody I'm sure knows, there's also a labor shortage that people are trying to deal with. And we should be more concerned about the people who need those resources, need those services to have a good lifestyle in a very expensive place like New York. Than worrying about the 1,000 people that left who were replaced by others.
Judd, I'll let you take a crack at that. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's pretty stupid politics, in my opinion. You've got to listen to Margaret Thatcher, who said the only thing wrong with socialism is that at some point you run out of other people's money to spend. What's happening here is the other people are leaving the states. New Hampshire has no income tax, no sales tax, no estate tax. Massachusetts just put a major surtax on high-income individuals. We're being overwhelmed with people trying to get out of that state and into New Hampshire. Same is true of California and obviously New York and Illinois. The problem here is pretty simple. It's politics. The constituencies of the people who run these states, who are essentially, they call themselves progressives, they're socialists, are built off of dependency and built off of subsidy. And that dependency and subsidy comes from taxes put on people who are the wealth producers, but more importantly, the job producers in those states. And at some point, those folks say, hey, I can't take this anymore. I can't create jobs here. I can't produce wealth here with this regulatory oversight and this economic excess in the area of taxation. So I'm just going to move. And you can do it in the United States. And the point is not that high-income people aren't undertaxed. In the United States, 74% of the income tax is paid by the top 10%. It's an extremely progressive system. And I suspect that's even more true in places like New York and California, although I don't have those numbers. So this is just a simple exercise in the politics of beggar thy neighbor until their neighbor leaves.